This first film review for this house covers the structural members and covers some second floor possibilities. As far as the outside, this is what exists now. So all of these windows should be 6/6. And I mean, it'd be nice if these doors were fixed up. There's something not going on right there. It'd be nice if those were fixed up. The transoms or whatever. This interface isn't too nice here. A little clunky. And back here, a couple things. I don't know if they used to have a walkout here. It looks like they did. Maybe there was a rear stairs to this before this piece was put on to the second floor. I don't know. Also, but that window has been severely downsized, and it really ought to be made to match this one. And these ones here, we'll talk about those a little bit later because those are back in that, probably what ends up as the bathroom back here. But those also have been shrunk down beyond what their brick is. And maybe it's happened twice, but that one should be, and then all these shutters are on the things, and we'll just assume those windows are getting replaced, and we'll start from leaving those right where they are, whatever their locations are. So then the next thing I did really was start looking at the structural members, these joists over these, at least over the area that I saw over the middle room, and I'm assuming that it's happening the same in at least both of these middle rooms, if not all of these 4 rooms. This weird, I've never seen this, and I haven't been able to find anything in the literature for it, where they've used one size member, 2x8s, presumably to carry the floor load up here, and 2x6s to just carry the ceiling joists. They aren't really, I didn't look close enough to see if these two were nailed to those, but some of these are definitely not, you could tell from my photos. So I'm assuming that that's what they intended. These just carry the floor load, and this carries the ceiling load. So I tested them accordingly, and I assume, I don't know why they would have done it this way in the middle room. As I said, I can't find anything to really back that up. But if we assume they did it in all 4 rooms, I tested these middle ones in any case. This members here, and down in the basement. And those 2x10s in the basement, those pass very handily, even at 45 pounds per square feet. Any of the species are passing, and passing pretty good. So, but on the second floor, on these floor joists that hold up that rear bedroom bathroom combination on the second floor, J1A, when I load those even at 30 pounds per square foot bedroom loading, those single 2x8s, they fail, and every species fails. So even the best of these species, is still failing. So I have doubled those. If we want to actually address that, all we have to do is not make this structure less safe. So technically, we can leave that as it is and not do that, as long as we don't put bathroom loading on these floor joists, because they fail with that. And we are expanding our bathroom probably, but we'll get to that. So I doubled them, and 2 of them passed very nicely, 2x8s, even at 40 pounds per square foot, even at 40 pounds per square foot loading, they pass, and pretty handily, and all the species pass. So you can double those with anything, but those have to be run back into the pocket. The new ones have to be run back into the pocket. But if you did this much, ran new ones and ran them back into the pocket and then nailed them to those ones in some sort of a W pattern, that would be a really rigid floor system. And the ceiling joists, I just rated them for 6 pounds because they're just carrying drywall in those rooms that you've dropped the other ceiling. I haven't tested them. I'm pretty sure that they will carry the 10 or 12 pounds that the plaster and lath would be, but these would pass handily. So that's what I ended up, kind of putting together right there to take care of that, to string those. even though the diaphragm's 10 3/4, so you can practically, I don't know why they just didn't run 2x10s, but that's neither here nor there. So this was the existing floor plan, and then I began to work with the existing floor plan. So I've renamed it 427A. So beginning upstairs, as I said at the start, we have this, it's an untenable, to me it's untenable stair system right there at the top of the stairs. And that's where we are proposing taking that wall out, where the dashed line is coming in, with that wall underneath it. But that area there, and you can see it, the edges here, here, and here, and this is somewhat close to what's happening over there, I think. Something like this. And I think that's pretty much untenable, considering everything else that's going to be done. So I actually started by modifying that staircase right off the bat, bring it up like this, and I put a landing at the top like this with the wall, and then come up so far and then come up this last bit. And I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time. A lot of this will be self-explanatory. When I did it that way, you had this 13-foot wide room there, and the door could obviously go wherever it wanted to. So I started kind of messing around with that, and then I got away from this coming up and then stepping up. The one thing, I want that door to have the flexibility. The door can go, even with this way, the door can go here. So, but this was 427A, and I didn't explore that further at that moment, because I felt we needed this room back here more than up here. So I just brought the stairs up another riser to a hallway, flat hallway up here. This brought this room down to 12'3". And I just kind of was messing around with where these doors can go, and if a bed was in here. When I start putting closets in, I start looking at where that existing wall was, and where this wall ended up being forced to because of the stair modification. It looks to me like we can leave a portion of that brick wall back there at the back. But this was just going through some of these possibilities, and this was these sliding doors that don't even have casing. It's pretty modern. So I brought those doors down, but that's kind of a 3'4". You have to buy 20-inch doors, which they're available. But I don't want to spend a lot of time on that for the moment, because this goes through quite a few more slides, and there'll be a lot to consider and think about. But right now, looking at a section through here, this is the existing stair now with the stair just comes straight up to this hallway up here. And this is a 6'8" clearance line here. And I wanted to see if we couldn't expand that little room that's back here where the toilet is now. And so I took a look at that. It looked to me like we could probably expand that, at least that far, and actually probably even further than that. I know that it can be further than that, because they're carrying next to nothing. So they would only have to be 2x4s, a double 2x4 going across from this wall to that brick wall. And we would just use a masonry hanger or something on that brick wall. Again, this is all just stamped details for no more than that's carrying. And we'll return to this theme of occupying some of this space in here. But for the moment, that's 51 1/4 up there as it exists. So when I went up there, that's 4'3" 1/4. The next thing I did, I guess, was look at the beds. This is a queen bed in here right now, queen bed with a frame around it. And that's the same thing up in that room there. And so I think probably that chimney bit goes away, because at the moment you can see what I'm setting up here is this hallway or this bathroom in through here. And I think for what it takes, this chimney's coming down to the bottom of the roof anyway, so maybe it just comes all the way down to the floor. Now that's that same queen bed in there, and there's a double bed. And obviously this room kind of sets up good for bunk beds in a way, but that's a twin bed there. So I returned to the double for most of this and the rest of this because there's just not a lot of room in there. It's plenty, it's more than code required, but it's just not a lot for anything bigger than a double bed. And then I returned those closets, so it looked to me like I had room to widen those to a standard 4-foot wide leaves. And by the way, except for these windows, which is all 1x6 casings and 5/4x6 window heads, all of this new work is 1x4 casing and 5/4x6 heads. And that's to stay consistent with what's happening up here, but give us some space to work with for casings. We don't have to use up so much wall space with casings. And I assume that toilet stack is going away from the stairwell. It's being relocated somewhere else. I haven't figured that part out yet, but I'm taking it out of there for now. And I started working with this, trying to get the fixtures into this bathroom, leaving these alone for a moment, trying to get these fixtures into this bathroom. And this, I came back and double checked this, and they would have figured I could get that wall, I could get that alcove to 66.5, like this. And part of the situation with this here, one thing, I don't want to reduce the width of this room any further than it is already at 8'2" or so, but you have to have 21-inch clearance in front of any fixture. So if we're going to put a sink anywhere down through this area of the bathroom, I'm not going to call this a hallway, but anywhere through this area of the bathroom, it's got to be less than 14 inches deep to have that 21-inch clearance in front of it, regardless of which side you put it on. But I started by putting this wall back where it was at the 4'3¼ and trying to work with that. And that toilet, that's the minimum you can have it from that wall. Well, the minimum is actually, that's the minimum you can have it from the wall. And I always try to get at least 17. And then these are these 21 inches, you need 21 inches in front of it. So you can already tell that this isn't really going to allow for, I think I took a measurement here, yeah, that's only 2 feet. So we can't even get like a tub shower combination in that arrangement there, even though we can get the required clearance in front of these two fixtures here. So I moved that one back there, and I rotated this one, and I think in that situation, I think I'm able to get a shower back in here. Well, I'm positive I could get a shower back in here then. So, but I left the shower alone for a minute, worked with the sink and other storage. I don't like this big clunky cabinet right in the pathway, so it's going to stay there for a minute, but it's not anything I am going to leave in there. But I stole just another 1.5 inches or so from bedroom 2 to get this situation a little wider, and I really did that for this cabinet here, but it gives us, a little bit more space in front of the sink as well. Now this, even with this wall at the 51.25, I still was able to pull this toilet forward some and put a cabinet over it, a 12-inch deep linen cabinet over it. So this one can go away. I mean, in my mind that one could go. But with that arrangement, and that's with that 4 foot, this 51.25. With that arrangement, you would be limited to a 3x3 shower. But it is all able to be accomplished in there if you leave this wall in place. Oh, now here's the next thing that happens. I would think that this window is changed out to glass block, and I would have a vent in it as well. It's really nice to have a vent in that, or even a casement window. Maybe I actually change it to a casement window at the end. Yeah, so I closed that opening down further. And it's important to note The reason I closed that window down, the reason it got pushed over this way, is because this is that solid brick wall with an inch of plaster over it. And so if this is going to be one of these pre-made fiberglass pans, then we're going to have some sort of wall to handle flashing that in. So when I put that wall in, it's still possible to do it that way, a little half wall under here, and leave that wide like that. But I ran it all the way to the thing so that this will be one smooth wall here. Otherwise, this wall is going to have this jog in it like this with your solid surface or tile or whatever you use for that. And that's why I ran that wall and resized that window, pushed it that way. And I did that, and then I left it that way for the future showers that we'll look at here. But I would make that as tall as possible. If that's what I was going to do, I would make that as tall as possible. When you look at this out here, this is 12 courses high, which that should be 32 inches. This brick opening actually should be 32 inches. So a person should be able to get a 32-inch high window in that opening. And coil stock the sides or whatever. And that's how it's shaped up with the 51 1/4, leaving that alcove as it was, putting it together like that. And if we move that alcove out, and I believe this moves it to full range, then we can get a 4-foot by 3-foot deep shower in there and still have a bench back here and still have this linen storage here. Yeah, so 5'5". I thought we'd get it to, I'd probably take it the whole way, 5'6.5", because that was the maximum we could do. And that gives you a 54-inch wide shower with the glass door, and the bench is a little more shallow, but I mean technically this can overhang so that you have a 18-inch deep bench as well. And the window would be modified to glass block, or even just a single casement made of fiberglass would work well in there. And so that's how that bath was kind of looking. I wanted to get rid of that utility cabinet there all along. And I started, first of all, worked some more with these walls in the hallway, in this bedroom. Bedroom 1, probably both of them a little bit. So by moving these hallways like that, I got this up to a 6-foot wide closet door, double-leaf closet door. I left this one at 4 foot because there was no way to get that to the next standard size. And when I started with this, I had put this utility cabinet, similar to what I had there. I had put this, cabinetry, a piece of cabinetry here. But that changed as I went along. I moved this whole arrangement here because I don't like this casing. This is not a good look here, having this door hanging over this. And there's space to move that. And I think we even move it a bit further before everything's said and done. And then I wanted to accomplish some more linen storage in the bathroom. So this is a cut through that stairwell again and coming out with another bridge over, again just to hold this cabinetry. And that cabinetry, I show it, the same height as this, but it's taller, but it probably ends at the same height. But here it's just 12-inch deep, but obviously that can be a 24. Really you could have, this could just be these old school, you could just get a face frame and put over here, and then this could be that super deep linen storage, any sort of thing that could happen there. Because at this, when we do something like this, we could put a sconce here, or we could put a downlight here, so we can get this stairwell more illuminated. We're going to have downlights here, now we're going to have a downlight here, or even a sconce here, which is nice as well. And the same thing, so I'm not worried about that coming out like that. And when you start looking at this closet again, once I did that, it looks like we can leave even more of that brick wall. If we're only taking maybe 40% of it down, like this, and that's what you would end up with. You could pick up, you probably could, there's ways you could pick up, another 4 inches. But it wouldn't be worth it considering how that's laying out. And then again, this did not look good when I started doing some walkthrough films on that. That didn't look good, but this is what brick that's coming down. So I don't know. Maybe it all just has to come down anyhow. I don't know what's happening down through here. But returning to this, it looks like, yeah, I got away from that built-in cabinet and I went to a little 18-inch wide door. And I noticed we had some space up here, so I brought that down just to give them more interior closet space, really. And then widen this out to a wider door so it doesn't look so small compared to the others. And it's more space as well. What happened is, again, these three all went that way, like that. And I really think that was the end of it, really, believe it or not. That was the end of that first review on the second floor. And you may have had in mind that this whole bathroom ends up here, and that's almost possible, but I don't know where the closets for these bedrooms go with that arrangement. I haven't thought of that hard enough, maybe. And I don't know if anything is to be gained by 427A, and this was that alternate approach. The door here, you wouldn't want the door here if you did have this sort of arrangement. You wouldn't want the door here, because this person, if they have to go to the bathroom at night, they have to step down and step back up. That's one of the reasons I abandoned that plan in the first place. But one of my initial thoughts on this had been, because I don't like this long stairwell, is that I would create a landing even sooner and then have 2 or 3 risers to the top. But that was going to take a little bit more design work, and then you probably end up with one of the closets back here, and I don't know how the closets would shape up. But I think by the time you got the hallways in there, it would be less of a plan than what I've shown so far. And this whole thing could be just that solid surface, 1/4 inch thick solid surface, cut all the way around this if a person wanted to. But lots of possibilities there, and that's about all I can squeeze out of it, really, at this point. There's probably long-term storage. Person could put cabinet here facing up the stairs, but that's kind of hazardous for people to get to. Christmas decorations and whatnot. That's all for now. And I'll be looking at the first floor now and waiting for your feedback on this second floor. We'll see where we go from there. So thanks a lot. Actually, I completely forgot, there is a walkthrough camera coming through here and walking through. I don't know if it'll give you a better idea, but that's what we'll follow. That'll be a silent film. Talk to you next time.